It was meant to be a routine interview, a simple conversation between one of the most famous royals and a seasoned journalist. But things quickly took an unexpected turn when Prince Harry walked off the CNN set during a live broadcast after an explosive argument with anchor Jake Tapper. The interview had been arranged to promote Harry's upcoming memoir, Spare, which had already garnered massive media attention. The world had already been exposed to the prince's candid remarks about his family, his struggles, and his life after stepping away from royal duties. Jake Tapper, known for his direct and often probing questions, was prepared to dive deep into Harry's controversial decisions, but he hadn't anticipated the kind of tension that would ensue. As the conversation began, Tapper started with the usual questions about Harry's journey, his public battles with the British royal family, and the media's portrayal of him. Harry, dressed in a sharp navy suit, sat poised in his chair, his eyes scanning Tapper's face as the questions came one after another. Harry, Tapper began, you've said in your book that the royal family treated you as the spare, rather than the heir. Many would argue that you had access to immense privilege and wealth, yet you chose to step away from that. Do you think it was a fair decision? Harry paused, his jaw tightening. I don't think it's about privilege, Jake. It's about respect, freedom, and my mental health. The pressure of constantly being the second choice took a toll on me. And I couldn't stand by while my family continued to gaslight me. The air in the studio shifted. Tapper, sensing an opportunity to push further, didn't back down. But you also had all the benefits of being part of the royal family. Couldn't you have found a way to work within those parameters? Maybe find some middle ground. The prince's face flushed. Jake, I don't think you understand. Middle ground was never offered. It was either fall in line or get pushed aside. The tension between the two men was palpable. Tapper, a veteran in political journalism, was used to tough interviews, but he had underestimated the emotional weight of Harry's experiences. He quickly followed up with another question, this time about Harry's strained relationship with his brother, Prince William. Harry, you've spoken about your fractured relationship with William. Is there any hope of reconciliation between you two, or has that ship sailed? For a moment, Harry seemed to lose his composure. His eyes narrowed, and his voice grew tight. Jake, I don't need to explain my family dynamics to you or anyone else. What happened between me and William is personal. And frankly, it's no one's business but ours. The audience could feel the temperature in the room rise as Tapper pressed, but the public has a right to know, especially when your actions have had such a global impact. Do you not owe them some sort of explanation? That was the moment everything changed. Harry's posture stiffened. The prince, who had once been so calm and collected in the face of public scrutiny, now seemed visibly agitated. He slammed his hand on the armrest of his chair, the gesture loud enough to be heard off camera. No, Jake. I don't owe anyone anything. I've been open about my journey, my choices, and my struggles. And if that's not enough for you, then this conversation is over. Tapper, clearly taken aback by the sudden outburst, tried to salvage the interview. Harry, please, let's try to. But it was too late. The prince stood up abruptly, his chair scraping against the floor. Without a word, he turned and walked off the set, leaving Tapper and the viewers in stunned silence. For a moment, there was nothing but the quiet hum of the studio. Tapper sat, frozen, his face a mix of disbelief and professional restraint. The cameras kept rolling, but the studio had fallen eerily silent. The moment would soon be all over the news. The footage of Prince Harry storming off CNN would make headlines across the globe. It was a dramatic, explosive end to what was supposed to be a controlled interview. And the world was left wondering, what led to this boiling point? Was it the pressure of the interview, or was there something deeper beneath the surface? The story was far from over. The fallout from Prince Harry's walkout was immediate and intense. Within minutes, social media lit up with clips of the moment he stood up and stormed off the CNN set. Hashtags like hashtag Harry vs Tapper, hashtag Royal Meltdown, and hashtag CNN Walkout began trending worldwide. News outlets replayed the clip endlessly, dissecting every facial expression, every pause, and every word. Some sympathized with Harry, calling Jake Tapper's line of questioning too aggressive and disrespectful. Others accused the prince of being overly sensitive and unwilling to face tough questions. The internet, as always, was divided. Back in Los Angeles, where Harry and Meghan now lived, the Sussex household was buzzing with phone calls and messages. Meghan reportedly watched the broadcast live and was seen pacing across their living room as Harry walked off screen. According to a source close to the couple, she immediately called her husband, but his phone went unanswered for nearly an hour. Later that evening, paparazzi caught Harry driving alone along the Pacific Coast Highway, his expression grim. Witnesses said he pulled over at a quiet overlook and sat there for a long time, staring out at the ocean. The image, a lone prince looking out at the waves, quickly went viral, becoming a symbol of both defiance and exhaustion. Meanwhile, CNN released a brief statement. Greater than, CNN stands by Jake Tapper's professionalism and journalistic integrity. We regret that Prince Harry chose to end the interview prematurely. Tapper himself addressed the incident on his next broadcast. Calm but firm, he said, "My goal was to have an honest conversation, not a confrontation. Prince Harry has every right to his feelings, but journalism means asking uncomfortable questions, even of royalty." Despite Tapper's composed demeanor, his words only fueled the fire. Harry's supporters lashed out, accusing CNN of ambushing him for ratings. Critics countered that Harry had sought attention with his book and interviews, and couldn't now complain about scrutiny. A week later, Harry finally broke his silence. Sitting down for a calmer, pre-recorded interview with a British journalist from ITV, he explained what had happened. His tone was softer, but the hurt was still visible. Jake's questions weren't the problem, Harry admitted. It was the tone. It felt less like a conversation and more like an interrogation. I've spent years trying to reclaim my voice, to tell my side of the story. But sometimes, people still treat me like a headline instead of a human being. He paused, visibly emotional before continuing. Walking off wasn't planned. I just needed a moment. Everything I've been through, losing my mother, the press, the public judgment, it builds up. I've had enough of being poked like an exhibit. The interview struck a chord. Many viewers expressed empathy, saying that Harry's reaction showed the toll fame and trauma had taken on him. Others felt he was still avoiding accountability, particularly for his public criticism of the royal family. Behind closed doors, the tension between Harry and his family only worsened. Reports from London suggested that King Charles and Prince William viewed the CNN incident as an embarrassment to the crown. One royal insider told The Times, "Greater than, they believe Harry's behavior reflects poorly on the monarchy. Every time he lashes out or walks away, it reinforces their belief that he's lost his sense of duty." Yet, for Harry, the situation was about more than image, it was about control over his own narrative. In the days following the CNN drama, Harry and Meghan announced plans for a new documentary project focused on the human cost of media intrusion. Insiders claimed the idea was born directly from that heated moment with Tapper, an attempt by Harry to turn a public failure into a statement of purpose. As production began, Jake Tapper himself was asked if he'd be willing to appear in the documentary. His answer was brief but telling. "If they're telling the truth, I've got nothing to hide." Behind the spectacle, however, something deeper stirred. Those close to Harry said he was re-evaluating how much of himself he wanted to keep sharing with the world. "He's realizing," one friend said, "that maybe the best way to heal isn't to talk louder, but to talk less." Weeks later, Harry made his first public appearance since the incident at a veterans charity event in San Diego. As he took the stage, he smiled faintly and said, "I've learned that sometimes silence is the loudest message." The crowd erupted in applause. Whether it was a message to Tapper, to the media, or to the world, no one knew for sure. But one thing was certain, the prince who once walked off CNN was walking into a new chapter, one not defined by arguments or interviews, but by choice and quiet strength.